The winter came in hard, cold and quiet, and it did not care who you were. In small towns and far farms, people woke up to frozen windows and stiff hands. Firewood was not easy to find, and every stick mattered. Families had to think fast, or they would freeze. But in this hard time, something strange and simple began to spread, a trick so quiet that many forgot it later. This was not a machine, not a new tool, not even something you had to buy. It was hay, yes, plain hay, the kind you see in fields, dry and light. But people did not use it for animals only. They used it to trap heat, to hold warmth close, and to make small fires feel much bigger than they were. And the best part, it worked. It worked so well that some homes stayed warm through the night without adding more wood. Today we go back to that lost idea and show how something so simple once kept families alive. During the war, many places had less fuel. Trucks were used for war, forests were far away. And cutting wood took time and strength. You could not waste it. Every fire had to last longer, burn smarter, and give more heat. But here is the problem. Fire burns fast, heat rises fast, and then it escapes. A room warms up, then cools down again. So people asked a simple question: how do we keep the heat we already have? That is when the idea of trapping heat became more important than making more fire. If you could hold the warmth close, you did not need as much fuel. This is where hay came in, not as fuel, but as a shield. Hay looks soft and weak, but it hides something powerful. It is full of tiny air spaces. These small pockets trap heat and slow it down when warm air tries to move through hay. It gets stuck, and that keeps the warmth in one place longer. Think of it like a blanket, but thicker and full of air. People started to use hay around their homes in smart ways. They packed it into walls, placed it near doors, and even built small barriers around stoves. The goal was simple: stop heat from escaping and let it stay where people needed it most. This turned small fires into strong heat sources that lasted much longer. The trick was not hard, but it had to be done right. People would gather dry hay and place it in cloth sacks or simple wooden frames. These were then set near cold spots like windows, doors, and thin walls. Some families made a ring of hay around their stove, not too close to catch fire, but close enough to catch the heat. This created a warm zone where heat would bounce back into the room instead of escaping. Others lined sleeping areas with hay barriers, making small warm spaces where body heat and fire heat stayed trapped. At night, this made a big difference. You could sleep without feeding the fire again and again. Now here is something very important. Hay can burn, so people had to be careful. They never placed it too close to open flames. They kept space between the fire and the hay, and often used cloth or boards as a layer in between. This was not about making a bigger fire. It was about making a smarter space. The hay did not create heat, it saved it. That is why it worked so well. People also made sure the hay stayed dry. Wet hay does not trap heat the same way, and it can grow mold. So keeping it dry was key to making the trick work. One of the smartest uses of this trick was in making small warm zones. Instead of trying to heat a whole house, families focused on one room or even one corner. They used hay to block off space, creating a smaller area where heat could build up and stay. This meant less firewood, less work, and more comfort. Children slept closer together, beds were placed near these warm zones, and daily life moved into these small heated spaces. It was simple, but it made a huge difference in survival. You might think this is an old trick with no use now, but that is not true. The idea behind it is still used today in modern homes. Insulation works in the same way, trapping air to keep heat in. Hay is just a natural form of insulation. In places where people want low-cost solutions or live off the grid, this method can still help. It is cheap, easy to find, and simple to use. Even today, some people use straw bales to build homes that stay warm in winter and cool in summer. The old trick never really died, it just changed form. What makes this story special is not just the trick itself, but what it shows about people. In hard times, they did not give up. They looked around, used what they had, and found new ways to survive. They did not wait for help, they made their own answers. Hay was everywhere, and they turned it into a tool that saved lives. This reminds us that sometimes the best solutions are simple, right in front of us, waiting to be seen in a new way. If you ever face a cold night with limited heat, this idea could still help. You can use thick natural materials to block drafts, create smaller warm spaces, and keep heat where you need it. Even using blankets, cushions, or packed dry grass can follow the same idea. It is all about trapping heat and stopping it from escaping. Of course, always be safe, keep anything that can burn away from fire, and make sure air can still move enough to breathe well. So here we are, a simple idea from a hard time, still useful today. The hay trick was never about magic. It was about thinking smart, using less, and making the most of what you have. It turned small fires into lasting warmth and cold homes into safe places. And maybe, just maybe, it can still teach us something today. If you found this story interesting, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to True Historia. Tell us what you think about this forgotten trick and what you want to see next on the channel. Your support helps keep these hidden stories alive.